You're live.
Okay, good
Okay.
evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly council meeting, the month of May 2020. I'd like to welcome all my fellow councillors, and all members are present tonight, and their names will be on the screen as they speak and during the meeting. Also, welcome to our CEO, Rob Philpott, is with us tonight, and our Director of Finance is with us, Kristen Dunsford, and I understand a little later on there may be some other directors joining the meeting. Also, welcome to our viewers on YouTube and Facebook, and I understand our Journal Pioneer from Summerside is connected, and as well CBC. So welcome to all, and we'll start the meeting. And is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McDougall and seconded by Councillor Adams. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay, carried. Thank you very much. Any conflict of interest for anybody to declare? I do not see any speaking hands up. So is there a motion to approve the monthly council meeting minutes of April 20th, 2020, and the approval of the special council meeting minutes on May 6th, 2020?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Duran and seconded by whom?
Sure.
Councillor Sure. No, Councillor Smith. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nay. Carried. Okay. I believe at this point I'll turn it over to Councillor Adams. It's National Poetry Month, and you have a special guest.
We do. Our special guest is Sarah Zilke, and Sarah is assistant programmer with Culture Summerside. So I'll just begin. April is National Poetry Month in Canada, and for a number of years, Council has celebrated at the monthly meeting with the reading of an original work by an island poet. However, with the disruptions caused by COVID-19, the reading was moved to the May meeting, and our poet is joining us virtually. It is exciting for us that our poet is actually a city employee with Culture Summerside. Sarah Zilke, as I said, is our assistant programmer. Sarah holds an English literature degree from the University of Guelph, a postgraduate certificate in museum and gallery studies from Georgian College. Sarah is very proud to say that one of her first museum roles was as co-curator of the Justin Bieber exhibit at the Stratford Perth Museum. That's pretty cool. Choosing to make Summerside her home, Sarah loves promoting and celebrating the rich culture of our city. Sarah took up writing at the age of 5, pounding out stories on her family's computer. It is one of her favorite forms of creativity, as it allows her the freedom to share her inner self with the world. Sarah has quietly observed the impact of COVID-19 on our lives and took pen to paper to create the poem. The poem is titled To Rise Again. So I'd like you to please welcome Sarah to read her poem she created for Council and National Poetry Month in Canada. Welcome,
Thank
Sarah.
you. Go ahead, Sarah. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you to Council and Mayor for providing me this opportunity to share some of my writing with you. As Carrie said, this poem has been greatly influenced by the recent events that have affected us globally and also our island community. And it's called To Rise Again, and I hope you will enjoy it. To rise again. Some people fear the ocean. It is vast, deep, and sometimes turbulent. It can change from quiet and still to quaking, cold, and violent. It holds secrets in its depths, secrets that whisper to us sometimes on a summer evening, or rushes our eardrums with an angry roar crashing against the shore over and over and over. It is still one of our great unknowns. Nothing can really produce that same gut-wrenching fear like the unknown. Uncertainty clouds our view, like looking into a mirror that has shattered into tiny pieces of glass. And the harder we look, the less we see and less secure we feel. And we don't always want to see or feel. Some days it seems easier not to, especially these days. When the world has been put on pause and a future rebuilt about how the way things are supposed to be has come crumbling down, fallen like brittle cliffs crumbling into the sea, a new unknown stands before us, stands before you. And sometimes it looks angry, violent, frightening, heartbreaking. Certainly, we have seen the worst of humankind and felt the coldness of the world. Like the vastness and seemingly endless nature of the ocean, we face a future hollowed by the unknown, and yet also possibility. I know life now is hard. Things are different. Circumstances put many pressures on all of us, and what we need most, the comfort of a warm hand squeezing our own, or a gentle hug from those you care about, are at times impossible. I know the feeling of fear for our family's safety, security, and a happy future. We are mourning for our lost plans and dreams. We are mourning our routines, like pouring a pot of rich black coffee into our favorite mug before half listening to the CBC during the morning commute, or even just hugging our loved ones just because, or having to say goodbye to our loved ones from afar, not able to see their faces one last time. Yes, life is hard. But humans, if nothing else, are survivors, are resilient, and I have seen firsthand the best of human nature come about. It is there in all of us, and we do not need to fear because our humanity makes us capable of empathy, compassion, determination, creativity, and strength. The tide of humankind has shown that when all hope seems to have extinguished and unimaginable pain and suffering has befallen us, the human spirit lives on. We are capable of reigniting the flames of kindness and understanding. We have taken the anxiety of the unknown and used it to drive innovation and ingenuity. Like the sprawling ocean waters, we have learned to find opportunity in that which frightens us. We learned through trial and error how to navigate the waters, and not only that, we learned how to reap its rewards. We have grown to weather the storms and find the beauty in not always knowing what lays before us. We have proven that we can rise above. It is time for us to rise above again. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Very good.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have JP DeRosier joining us. Welcome, JP. So thanks again very much, Sarah. And you're welcome to watch the rest of the meeting, or whether it's on YouTube or stay where you are there. Anyway, we'll continue on with the meeting. And there's a section here for correspondence. I don't have any here right now, the usual letters coming in, but maybe next month, if we're alive and live, we can catch up in the last month or so on some of the correspondence. So we'll continue on with the agenda, and I understand financial services will be first. Deputy Mayor Norma McColman as Chair of Finance. You have a report, plus a couple of resolutions. The floor is yours, Madam Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, there you
Thank
go.
you, Your Worship. I'd like to say good evening to my colleagues on City Council and to the residents of the City of Summerside. The Minister of Fisheries and Communities, Jamie Foxx, issued an order which extended several deadlines for municipalities. Due to this extension, the annual year-end audit and submission of financial statements will not be occurring until July and August of this year. This change in timeline will still enable the City of Summerside to file the auditor's report and financial statements many weeks prior to the provincial deadlines. My report tonight consists of an update on our preliminary financial results for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. We will present final operating and capital results once our year-end audit is complete and our 2019-20 financial statements are released in August. Our latest projection for 2019 to 2020 fiscal year is showing a small surplus of $13,490. We can offset additional costs incurred, such as cleaning and restoration costs from post-tropical storm Dorian, early costs and lost revenue due to the COVID-19 pandemic, without adding to our long-term debt. The 2020-21 budget was approved as of March 16, 2020 council meeting. We are still analyzing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on city operations and will continue to monitor for programs that are available to the municipalities. Support is continuing to be offered to our utility customers with the following measures that were put in place in March and still remain until further notice to our residents. There will be no late payment charges. They won't be billed. No disconnections of utility services for non-payment will be done. And we encourage customers who are unable to pay utility bills to contact us at 902-432-1230, and we will develop a flexible payment arrangement with the resident. I'd like to just thank everybody to be able to present this report to you as my colleagues this evening. And if you have any questions, either myself or CFO Kristen Dunsford will be available to take your questions. And this report has been prepared by CFO Kristen Dunsford. So I'll just open that up if there's any questions. Any questions? No questions? Okay, Your Worship, I do have 2 resolutions this evening.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just getting them there now.
Okay.
Okay. The first resolution is COS 19055. It was moved by myself, Deputy Mayor McCollum, seconded by Councillor Brian McFeely, whereas the Lifehouse Action Committee is raising funds to establish a shelter for women and children in Summerside. And whereas the committee has asked the city for a contribution to enable them to secure funds from the John Howard Society to assist with business and concept planning. Be it resolved that council approves a donation of $5,000 to be paid to match the contribution to be received from the John Howard Society.
Thank you. It was moved by Deputy Mayor McCollum and seconded by Councillor Brian McFeely. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor, say aye, or wave your hand. Contrary, nay. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And my second and final resolution, Your Worship, it was moved by myself, Deputy Mayor McCollum, seconded by Councillor Brian McFeely, and the resolution is COS 20058. Whereas the city of Summerside is impacted in many ways by preparing to contain the spread of COVID-19, and whereas the residents and ratepayers are facing many challenges during the pandemic, and whereas the city recognizes that residents and ratepayers are seeking support to help them through this crisis, be it resolved that the city of Summerside approves a monthly rebate of $25 for all utility customers within the municipal boundaries of the city of Summerside for the month of May 2020. This rebate will be included on the monthly utility bill. This bears the recommendation of the meeting of the Committee of the Whole on March 27th, 2020.
Moved by Deputy Mayor McCollum and seconded by Councillor Brian McFeely. Any questions on the resolution? Councillor Ramsey?
Deputy Mayor, was that for April or May? It says April here, but you said May, so I'm just.
Yes, I just clarified that with CFO. I just see that there is, the rebate is for April.
Okay, so that's what I had here, but I just wasn't sure. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, I think with some of those, it might not have showed up until the May billing because they were at the end of a billing cycle. Wasn't that what we had discussed? So.
Yes, yes.
I guess what I was clarifying was that it was a one-time thing. It wasn't for April and May, and that was my concern if people might hear May as well, but it was a one-time rebate.
Yes,
Right.
and I'm just seeing the CFO Dunsford nod her head, so it was.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Do you have anything further to say on that, Director of Finance? Is that pretty clear there?
No, it was just for the month of April.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you've all heard the resolution. Any questions? All in favor, say aye, or wave your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Contrary, nay. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So Councillor or Deputy Mayor McCollum, you have anything further at this point?
No, that's everything, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll continue on. I believe Tech Services, Councillor Justin Duran, you have a report, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll dig right into it here. The 2020 construction season has begun. Staff have completed a number of tenders for the 2020 capital projects. The first few tenders have begun this week with water main replacements on Cedar as well as Notre Dame. Eco Park Phase 1 has restarted and Phase 2 will start next week also. Paving, boardwalk replacement, and sidewalk will begin in early June with ditch infill a little later. We'll update the tech services section on the city's webpage to follow along with the locations and status of some of those major projects. Staff continues to review and assist the public with pending developments and building permits to be issued for this year. We held a public meeting for a couple of rezonings, and we have another one planned for later this week, tomorrow, I believe. There are a number of resolutions brought forward for a vote this evening. We ask that citizens and business owners continue to submit your information for permitting. Our staff are continuing to work remotely and are reviewing all information submitted and responded back to these submissions if any additional information may be required for their permits. A number of building permits were issued for the month of April. We issued 2 semi-detached, 1 4-unit building, also 4 to 5 each for interior renovations and additions, fences, decks, and accessory buildings. Staff have continued to work with developers and citizens in order to complete inspections on existing projects and also to have permits processed to allow for the restart that we are now seeing. Several developers are still reaching out to staff for assistance with their proposed projects for 2020. Staff will continue to work with these developers to bring these developments to the permit stage. Citizens are also encouraged to ask for assistance with their projects that they may have planned for 2020. And thanks very much to Director Aaron McDonald for preparing that report tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Anything further or any questions for the Chair of Tech Services? I do not see any hands up, Councillor Duran. If you have nothing further, we'll move on. Or if you have something you want to bring up a little later, the floor, the chance will be there. Okay, we'll continue on with the Planning Board. And Councillor Brian McFeely, you have a number of resolutions. And the floor is yours, sir. Are you connected there, Councillor McFeely? You're muted.
You're muted, Brian.
There we go.
There you go.
My
Floor is
apologies. We have no less than 11 resolutions, Your Worship. So I ask you to bear with me as we work through them. And I would ask Councillor Adams and Ramsey, I'm almost a little nervous of the technology. Should I get knocked off here, if you can kind of pick up the verbiage from where I left off and keep the process moving forward. So with that, Your Worship, we will begin with resolution COS 20-058, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas my mouse going here. Whereas the city of Summerside is impacted in many ways by preparing to contain the spread of COVID-19. Excuse me, I'm in the wrong resolution. I'm still in the last one here.
Right.
There we go. We're going on to resolution
Report.
COS 20-044,
Right.
dated May 19th, 2020. Moved by Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas Tara Arsenault is requesting council approve in accordance with section 13 of the licensing bylaw SS05 to operate a mobile sales establishment at Heather Moyse Drive in property owned by the Summerside Port Authority, PID number 322453. And whereas section 13 of the licensing bylaw provides that council shall allow or refuse an application based on the following considerations: safety, desirability, impact on established businesses in the city, public convenience, and such other considerations as deemed appropriate. Be it resolved that council grant approval to Terra Arsenal to operate a mobile sales establishment at Heather Moist Drive, Summerside Port Corporation, Inc. on PID number 322453. The license is subject to paying a licensing fee of $500 for a non-local business as per licensing bylaw SS-05 regulations. Special events require written approval of the event organizer submitted to the city 3 days in advance. A food health permit is provided by the province. A litter disposal containers are provided on site. Hours of operations are 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and letters of permission from the property owners. This bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting on May 14th, 2020, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. Just for the record, that paying of the $500 fee, that's paid to the city of Summerside, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions on the resolution?
Just had one quick question. Do
I'm
we
sorry.
know the exact location of that? It was sort of up in the air last time.
I haven't heard that the location had been finalized. It will be on land owned by the Port Corporation. I think they were still trying to finalize the exact location on there as it related to the availability of services.
Any
Rob,
further questions?
CAO Rob, I don't know if you have any further information on that.
Okay. No further questions. All in favor, wave your hand. Contrary, nay. Carried. Thank you very much.
The next
Still yours, Councillor.
The next resolution, Your Worship, is COS 20-045, May 19th, 2020, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Whereas the city of Summerside is a designated municipality under the Emergency Measures Act. And whereas as a designated municipality is responsible to name a street, public or private, where the street serves 3 or more properties. And whereas the owners of the private street McCormick Builders and Apartment Limited wishes to submit the street name David James in honor of the owner/developer David McCormick. And whereas as required by Schedule B of the street naming policy of the city subdivision and site development bylaw SS-19, council shall approve or deny a recommendation or request by simple resolution based on the recommendation, number 1, the recommendation of the street naming committee, 2, the conformance of the proposed name with this policy, and 3, any consideration that council considers relevant. Be resolved that council approve the following street names submitted by the property owner. As per the street name policy, the suffix will be street. The official street name is David James Street. This private street is located off Pope Road on PID number 69377. And this bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting of May 11th, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Any questions on the resolution?
I just have one,
Isn't
actually.
that the
Sorry,
job of the
Councillor.
committee, Brian?
Sorry,
Pardon me,
Brian?
Councillor?
Is that the job of the committee or not our job, is it?
I'm not sure what your question is. The job of the
The street naming committee, don't they pick the name and then?
no,
forward
they
it to-
they have a list of names, and if the developer draws from that list of names, there's about 40 names on that list, then it doesn't need to come to council. If they
Okay,
want to use a name that's not on that list, then it requires council approval.
okay, sorry, my misunderstanding.
No, that's no.
Councillor Duran, you had a question?
Yeah, just a question. I'm just wondering what makes it a private street? Is it that as opposed to a public street?
maybe Councillor or CAO Rob, but I understand the street, it's basically a driveway, but it for fire and police and ambulance services, there has to be a street and a name, and it won't be turned over to the city because I don't think it's built to city standards as far as width and whatever else. So that's the Reader's Digest version, in my opinion, unless Rob got something further to add. Hit your mute button. Hit your button. Rob? No sound.
I think, Mayor Stewart, the difference is they're not built to city standards, and it's their choice. But we will not be taking over the street, so it has to be built to a standard, but it's not to the city standards. That's why that it won't be a city street.
So is the city not responsible then for snow clearing and repairing anything?
No.
Okay, okay.
And if it's going to be lighted, that's up to the developer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions? If not,
Just a comment, Your Worship, before
ahead.
the vote. I just want, and I think I raised this at the planning board meeting as well, that, because we're not using a name that's on the list that the committee had put together, it certainly doesn't undermine the work of that committee. Most streets will be drawn from that list, but the developer certainly has a right to based on their investment, to put forth additional names if they wish. So I just want to make sure that the general public and those committee members understand that it doesn't undermine their work in any way.
I agree, but I like the idea of it coming back to council for a vote. So there's a resolution passed and it's on record, and 10 years down the road or 100 years, it's recorded that way. I like the idea of council approving the street name. Anyway, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Country nay? Carried. Thank you, Councillor McFeely.
Our next resolution, Your Worship. We've only just begun. Resolution, mouse is touchy, COS 20-046, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas an application was received from Leroy Gamble and Karen Churchill Gamble for a zoning amendment for a portion of PID number 67551 from service commercial C2 zone to low density mixed residential R2 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas the zoning bylaw amendment 060, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read a first time at the council meeting held on May 6, 2020. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, suitability of the site for the proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents and other interested persons, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements, impact from the development on pedestrian and vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally, compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources, impacts on city finances and budgets, other matters as specified in this bylaw, other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that zoning amendment 060, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby declared as read a second time.
Bears.
Recommendation of planning board meeting on May 11th, 2020.
Moved by Councillor.
Schedule B is attached there, Your Worship. I should read that into the record.
Yes,
Zoning
go ahead.
amendment 060, A bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. The Council of the City of Summerside, under the authority vested in it by Section 18, Section 19 of the Planning Act, RSPEI 1988, Cap P-8, hereby enacts as follows. The zoning of a portion of PID number 67551, shown on Schedule B of the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, is designated as low-density mixed residential R2 zone, hereby excluding it from its former designation of service commercial C2, and the map is attached, Your Worship, for reference.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. All in favor? Any questions? All in favor, say aye or wave.
Aye.
Country nay. Carried.
Moving
Thank
on,
you.
Your Worship.
Could I just, I had a couple of comments there, but I got into this one here. We're just going to back up a half a step, Councillor McFeely, just for my thoughts on it.
Sure.
I know I was of the understanding that street naming, the final approval will come to council for a resolution, even though there are a list of number of names in the resolution. But I think for the family members who it's named after, it's quite an honor to have a street named after them. And I think a formal resolution, rather than just have somebody reading the paper, but 3 weeks later, I know we had one last fall that we didn't know anything about it. So I would ask the committee and when there's a new street, we don't have all that many, but I understand this year there may be, with all the developments, there may be a few, which is great. But I think it should come back to council for an official resolution so the families can be notified. And so we'll get into that discussion later, but I just wanted to add that. I'll move it on to the next resolution for you.
I think you raise a valid point, Your Worship. We can circle back with tech services on that in terms of the formality of bringing the name really wouldn't be open for debate at council if it's drawn from that list that's already been approved at council, but the formality of naming it and giving the designation to the person, I think that's a valid concern you raise.
Thank you very much. You still have the floor.
Okay, COS 20-047, May 19th, 2020, moved by Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Whereas an application was received from Leroy Gamble and Karen Churchill Gamble to amend the future land use plan for portion of PID number 67751 from commercial land use to residential land use under the City of Summerside official plan. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable. Conformity with the official plan, conformity with the requirements of this bylaw, sustainability of the site for the proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents or other interested persons, adequacy of the existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking, and parklands for accommodating the development, and any projected infrastructure requirements. Impact from the development on pedestrian and vehicular access and safety, and on public safety generally. Compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. Impact on city finances and budgets. Other matters as specified in this bylaw. Other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that the official plan amendment 059 to amend the City of Summerside official plan be hereby formally adopted. And Schedule B is attached, Your Worship, and this bears the recommendation of the Planning Board meeting May 11th. And I'll read Schedule B into the record. Official plan amendment 059 to amend the City of Summerside official plan. The Council of the City of Summerside, under the authority vested in it by Section 18 of the Planning Act, RSPEI 1988, Cap P-8, hereby enact as follows. The land use of portion of PID number 67751 as shown in Schedule B of the future land use plan is designated as residential land use, hereby excluding it from its former designation of commercial land use under the City of Summerside official plan, and the map is attached, Your Worship, showing the subject property for the record.
So moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Any questions? All in favor, give a wave. Unanimously. Motion carried. Thank you very much. The floor is still yours, Councillor McFeely.
Moving on, your worship, the resolution COS 20-048, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas an application was received from Leroy Gambo and Karen Churchill Gambo for a zoning amendment to portion of PID number 67751 from service commercial C2 zone to low density mixed residential R2 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 060, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read at 2 separate meetings of council held on different days. Be it resolved that the zoning bylaw amendment 060, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby formally adopted.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. Any questions? All in favor, give a wave. Contrary, nay. Carried unanimously.
Moving on, your worship, resolution number COS 20-049, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Whereas an application was received from Strategic Holdings Nathan Kember for a zoning amendment for a portion of PID number 72421, a portion A from service commercial C2 zone to high density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 054A, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read the first time at the council meeting held on May 6, 2020. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, suitability of the site for the proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents or other interested persons, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements, impacts from the development on pedestrian and vehicular access and safety, and on public safety generally. Compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources, impact on the city's finances and budget, other matters as specified by this bylaw, other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that zoning amendment 054A, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby declared as read a second time. And this bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting held on May 11th, 2020. Schedule B is attached, your worship. I'll read that into the record. Zoning amendment 054A, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside. Bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. The Council of the City of Summerside, under authority vested in it by Section 18 and Section 19 of the Planning Act, RSPEI 1988, Cap P-8, hereby enacts as follows: the zoning for a portion of PID number 72421, portion A shown on Schedule B of the City of Summerside zoning bylaw is designated as high density residential R4 zone, hereby excluding it from its former designation of service commercial, and the map is attached for the record, your worship.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by whom? Sorry, I didn't get that.
I think it was Councillor Ramsey.
Councillor Ramsey.
No, it was Councillor Adams, I think.
Adams, okay. Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. You're right, Brian. Brian Ramsey.
It's Councillor Ramsey. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Brian.
No problem. So all in favor, give a wave. I guess we did unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, so moving on, your worship. Resolution COS 20-050, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. can't remember myself here.
No, I'm writing them down.
Whereas an application was received from Strategic Holdings, Nathan Kember, to amend the future land use plan for a portion of PID number 72421, portion A from commercial land use to residential land use under the City of Summerside official plan. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, suitability of the site for proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents or other interested persons, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking, and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements, impact from the development on pedestrian and vehicular access and safety, and on public safety generally, compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources, impact on city finances and budget, other matters as specified in this bylaw, other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that official plan amendment 053, an amendment to amend the City of Summerside official plan, be hereby formally adopted. And this bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting held on May 11th. Schedule B is attached, your worship. The official plan amendment 053 to amend the City of Summerside official plan. The council of the City of Summerside, under authority vested in it by section 18 of the Planning Act, RSPEI 1988 cap P-8, hereby enacts as follows. The land use of portion of PID number 72421, portion A, as shown on Schedule B of the future land use plan, is designated as residential land use, hereby excluding it from its former designation of commercial land use under the City of Summerside official plan. And the map showing the designated properties, your worship, is attached.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor say aye or wave. Contrary nay. Motion carried unanimously.
Resolution COS 20-051, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Get in the position here. Whereas an application was received from Strategic Holdings, Nathan Kember, for a zoning amendment for a portion of PID number 72421, portion A from service commercial C2 zone to high density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 054A, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read at two separate meetings of council held on different days. Be it resolved that zoning bylaw amendment 054A, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, is hereby formally adopted.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Any questions? All in favor say aye or give us a wave. Contrary nay. Carried.
Moving on, your worship, to resolution COS 20-054, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas an application was received from Strategic Holdings, Nathan Kember, for a zoning amendment for a portion of PID number 72421, portion B from single family residential R1 zone to high density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 054B, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read a first time at the council meeting held on May 6, 2020. And whereas in accordance with section 5.7 of the zoning bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, suitability of the site for the proposed development, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses, any comments from residents or other interested persons, adequacy of existing water, sewer, road, stormwater, and electrical services, city parking and parklands for accommodating the development and any projected infrastructure requirements. Shouldn't have to should have this memorized. Impact from the development on pedestrian and vehicular access and safety and on public safety generally. Compatibility of the development with environmental, scenic, and heritage resources. Impact on city finances and budget. Other matters as specified in this bylaw. Other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved that zoning amendment 054B, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby declared as read a second time. And this bears the planning board recommendation from its meeting on May 11th, Your Worship.
And you have the
Can I just,
amendment? You have the amendment, sorry to read. with that.
Schedule B, yes, I should read that into the record as well. The zoning amendment 054B, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. The council, the City of Summerside, under authority vested in it by Section 18, Section 19 of the Planning Act RSPEI 1988 Cap P-8, hereby enacts as follows. The zoning for a portion of PID number 72421, portion B, shown on Schedule B of the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, is designated as high density residential R4 zone, hereby excluding it from its former designation of single family residential R1 zone. And the map is attached, Your Worship.
I don't have that resolution, Brian. I get 053, but I don't have any 054.
this is 052 that you're reading, correct? I
Yeah.
have 052 here.
That's 052.
052.
You're ahead of us, Greg.
No, that
We're at-
resolution, I think Councillor McFeely stated was 054, but it is 052.
05.
054 is,
052, right.
it's dealing with amendment 054, so that may have been where the confusion lay.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's where the confusion is, yeah. So it is COS 20-052 dealing with amendment 054.
Right.
Okay.
My apologies.
No problem. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wave, contrary nay, carried. Was our question? Or maybe Greg had it there, I guess. Yeah.
No, can I just, I did
Sure.
want to make a comment on that. I have some residents in the area and they just wanted to make sure that, and I know Mr. Kember is well aware because we discussed it. They just are a little worried about the area closer down to the water. You know, we have a nicely run motel there with a lot of green space behind it that is used by its visitors, especially with this summer with they're going to have a more trying summer and they'd appreciate the cooperation from Mr. Kember. So they're looking forward to working with him, but we also have to be very mindful. There's a lot of marsh and natural area back there that really has to be protected because we can't get that back once it's filled in or run over or bulldozed. So we really need to have a good working relationship with the neighbors on that one because there's quite a fine line there when it comes to the property.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Kember did speak about that and protecting that. I think that was something that he did say.
Yeah. The problem is where the zoning part is, even though somebody's house might have been 60 meters, then the part down to the water, you might not have been given a letter. Anyways, it's sort of, I went for a walk and seen how the property went and it is sort of different. So they use the nature trails through there a lot. So they just wanted to ensure a good working relationship with Mr. Kember and because they've been there for many, many years. So I told them that he was very well aware from council that, you know, it was to be handled with care when it came to that because provincial environmental anyways will be on top of it, I'm sure. But
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Adams, and you're right, the provincial environmental regulations will certainly look after that. Anyway, anything further? If not, where are we here? Councillor McFeely, you have
Call the question on that last
we
resolution.
vote
I
on
don't know did we vote on it?
No, I don't
all in
think.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary nay, carried. Okay.
Okay, Your Worship, Resolution COS 20-053. Moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Whereas an application was received from Strategic Holding Nathan Kember for a zoning amendment for a portion of PID number 72421, portion B from single family residential R1 zone to high density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. And whereas zoning bylaw amendment 054B, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read at 2 separate meetings of council held on different days. Be it resolved that zoning bylaw amendment 054B, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby formally adopted.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor, say aye or wave. Contrary, nay. Motion carried unanimously. You're batting 1,000 there, Councillor
Yeah,
McFeely.
we're moving. We're getting there. Resolution COS 20-059, Your Worship, moved by myself, Councillor McFeely, seconded by Councillor Adams. Whereas an application for a major subdivision was received from 101539 PEI Inc. Corey Larice, PID number 10596641, to subdivide a portion of this parcel into 11 lots intended for single-family residential R1 as shown on plans by Locust Survey Limited titled Waterview Heights, dated May 11th, 2020. Plan number 17146-S01. And whereas in accordance with section 3.6 of the subdivision site development bylaw, council shall consider the following general criteria as applicable: conformity with all requirements of this bylaw, conformity with the official plan, conformity with the zoning bylaw, the orderly and following nature of the development, physical suitability of the site for the proposed development, including avoidance of natural hazards, undue water runoff and environmental damage, compatibility of the proposed development with the present and future surrounding patterns of the street, lots, services, including conformity with any city concept plan, adequacy of the applicant's proposal for traffic circulation, park and pedestrian access, water supply, sewage disposal, and storm drainage, including the adequacy of the city streets and services to handle increased loads, suitability of parkland provisions, impact on city finances and budgets, proof of conformity with any applicable provincial legislation and regulations, and other matters as considered relevant. Be it resolved, the council grant preliminary subdivision approval in accordance with section 8.5 of the subdivision site development bylaw to 101539 PEI Inc., Corey Larice, PID number 10596641, to subdivide a portion of this parcel into 11 lots intended for single family residential R1 as shown on plan by Locust Survey Limited, Waterview Heights, dated May 11, 2020, plan number 17146-S01, subject to the following conditions: the developer satisfies all municipal servicing requirements, the developer enters into a subdivision construction agreement with the city. This bears the recommendation of the planning board meeting held on May 14th, 2020. And a map showing the layout of the subdivision is attached, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Adams. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor, give a wave. Contrary, nay. Carried unanimously.
That's the end of the resolutions, Your Worship.
It is. We're on a roll there.
Can I make a comment, Your Worship?
Go ahead, Councillor Campbell.
I really find it difficult doing it this way and not being able to meet the applicants. I really find the difference. You don't get to to find out the type of people they are and to meet them and help them out.
Yes, I certainly agree, but that's all we can do for now until the regulations are changed. But I think people understand that we have to follow the provincial health doctor orders. And but I think as time goes on, we'll be able to get back to our regular meetings, but we're not sure of the date yet. But I think everybody agrees with you. It's pretty hard to beat the face-to-face meetings.
Your worship, if I may, I have
Go ahead.
just a comment. It's really nice to see, I guess, when all the resolutions and we went through tonight, there's a 59 unit apartment building, a new subdivision, another duplex. There's lots of great things happening. I have an intention to move a motion here later tonight that hopefully will continue moving down that path of the right path for the city of Summerside. So I'm looking forward to doing that a little bit later. But as of right now, I just want to say how positive it is that we see people coming forward looking to build and up the supply we have in our city. So it's great to see.
Yes, it's certainly great to see, all of the residential construction, and we're going to push on and get some more commercial. Anyway, we'll continue on. Thank you, Councillor Campbell and Councillor Snow, for your comments. And we're going to move over to economic development. Councillor McFeely, I thought you were finished.
You're not rid of me yet.
Have a report?
I do have a report, Your Worship. I'll keep it brief. Talked enough. And I thank Director Mike Tatuska and his able assistant Neil Moore for providing the report. The Office of Economic Development continues to conduct its operations with as much normalcy as possible during these unprecedented times. And to that end, it has been a very busy month. As one of the partners on the Summerside COVID Task Force, the group continues to meet regularly and finalize some of its initiatives we are working collaboratively on. Specifically, in the coming week, we will be launching our online Summerside Mall as part of our actions. We'll also be working on a formal launch strategy of this tactic under the banner Forward Summerside. And specifically, the new mall will be located at the forwardsummerside.ca site. I really want to give credit to our participating partners in this. The Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Summerside and now Explore Summerside have joined us, particularly Pam Skirman and Tara Maddox from the Chamber, and Angie Arsenault and Kenny Driscoll from Downtown, and Lydia Potter before she moved on. And Rose has joined us from Explore Summerside. So I really want to give credit to them. I know the Chamber of Commerce in many ways will take lead on the Forward Summerside initiative. Closely behind that, we'll be launching another initiative that the Downtown Summerside folks will be taking the lead on. So there's some good things coming out in the next couple of weeks to really encourage people to engage with business in Summerside. I know the province, we've read in the Guardian this morning, Your Worship, that the province is looking at how it moves forward with its economic recovery, and the Guardian's reporting on the Premier's Economic Recovery Council and what that might look like going forward, and how it will be shaped and formed. It's important that represent interest from across the province, and I think the province recognizes that, and that Summerside sort of being the hub for economic activity in the western part of the province should certainly be a important part of any provincial advisory council in that. And I certainly trust and have confidence that the Premier and his folks recognize that, and I know, Your Worship, you've been in communication with the Premier's office around that. So we look forward to that coming out, and for business people in Summerside and others to be an important part of that initiative. I don't know, Your Worship, if you have anything to add to that at this point.
Just, you're right. I did talk with the Premier's office earlier today, talking with his assistant. The Premier was in a meeting at the time, and the message was to be passed on to him that, the recovery committee, we want to make sure Summerside and other parts of the island are included in that. And she said the message would get to him, and he's supposed to call me back. So we'll keep working on that to make sure that we're not forgotten about.
And I understand, I don't know all the facts around it, but that they may be using the Engage PEI website to solicit the interest in that. And so people should keep an eye on that, I guess. And nothing formally has been announced yet, I don't believe, around that. So we'll see how that evolves. And certainly would be our hope that Summerside would have much to offer in terms of being an important part of any initiative like that going forward. So. The office continues to liaise, the Economic Development Office continues to liaise with local business and assisting where it can on dealing with business as they work through the COVID restrictions and opening scenarios. We have seen a surge in landed PNP clients looking for guidance on seeking approvals and options for opening up their establishment. The office is continuing as one of the leads on the Sunbank project, which is our industrial scale solar battery park. Steps are now focused on getting preparations ready for the construction phase of the project, which we hope to start later this summer. The office is working on a number of projects and investment clients, both foreign and domestic, whom still have plans to invest in Summerside and navigating through various channels to support these investment opportunities. And finally, Your Worship, the Echo Park Phase 2 has begun work on the completion of the infrastructure to finish the park off. The office is working with architects on the design of the first 2 buildings and hoping sometime later this summer to have those plans out to tender. The office is continuing to work with funding agencies and clients to bring these buildings to fruition and transition from concept to reality in 2020 and 2021. So that is the Economic Development Report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McFeely. Any questions for the Chair of Economic Development by any members of Council? Deputy Mayor McColeman.
I don't have a question.
No.
You're muted, Councillor or Deputy Mayor.
You there?
You're muted, Norma.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, now.
I wonder, Councillor McFeely, I didn't get a chance in my finance report, but since you speak to the task force and downtown Summerside, I just, if you don't mind, I wanted to, on behalf of Mayor and Council, bid farewell and a big thank you to Lydia Potter, who was the former executive director at downtown Summerside, and also thank her for her great work and vision for the downtown area. And a welcome to the new interim director, Angie Arsenault, and have every confidence from Mayor and Council that she'll do a great job. And I missed that earlier. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor McColeman. Any further questions for the Chair of Economic Development? If not, I do not see any hands raised. So we'll move on to the Police Services and Fire and Emergency Planning. Councillor Barb Ramsey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and good evening, Your Worship, and good evening, every fellow councillors and directors and everyone out there in TV land, as we used to say. So I'd like to take a minute to thank our police and fire services. Thank you for all that you're doing to keep us safe during this pandemic, and your dedication and commitment has not gone unnoticed, and they've certainly been trying times for everyone. And it is assuring to know that we have such capable individuals in our front lines. So I just wanted to say thank you to those folks. We have a fireman right on our council here, so Mr. Justin.
We're holding his feet to the fire. Right?
Pardon me?
We're not holding his feet to the fire.
We're not holding his feet to the fire tonight. And so I'm going to go into the emergency measures report first. And I just wanted to give a little update. City Hall is planning to open to the public on June 15th. Updates on other facilities and parks will be provided on our COVID City website. So if anyone is interested in what's going to take place in the near future, you can go on the website and it will be updated. And I'd like to take to thank our CAO Rob Philpott and his department directors for all their hard work and dedication throughout this difficult time. Just wanted to thank you guys, and I know it's been challenging for you. So anyway, and Rob looks after the emergency measures, and so yeah, thank you, Rob, for that. So I'm going to go into fire services first. Oh, was there any questions on the emergency measures, I guess, before I move forward?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go into our fire services. On behalf of Mayor Stewart and City Council, I'd like to extend our deepest condolences to the family of Leo Stewart, who passed away April 21st. Leo served as a volunteer firefighter with Summerside Fire Services for 29 years. Thank you for your service, Leo. You will be missed, and may you rest in peace. So I have the report from Ken Culleton for April from Fire Services. There were 21 calls for assistance during the month of April, and they were as follows: 2 medical first responder calls, 1 motor vehicle accident, 3 alarm panel calls, 5 miscellaneous calls, 1 grass fire, and 9 outdoor fire violations. Because of COVID-19 restrictions, there were no firefighters training during the month of April. Members, and this is directly from the members, so members of the Summerside Fire Department are devastated at the loss of 29-year veteran Leo Stewart. Our heartfelt condolences go out to the Stewart family. Rest easy, brother. Residents are reminded that the ban on outdoor burning is in place to keep firefighters safe. The ban also suspends all burning permits issued by the PEI Department of Environment, Water and Climate Change, and the Fire Marshal's Office. So that's our fire report. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Just an addition, I guess, since this report may have come out. I know the province lifted their fire ban for backyard fires. I shouldn't say lifted, but they lifted some of the restrictions on that. Whereas before it was, you had to confine it with a spark arrestor or like an outdoor fireplace with a chimney. Now you can have your regular old backyard fire pit bonfire as long as it conforms with the city's guidelines.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Ramsey, at this time?
I think Councillor Adams has something.
Councillor Adams?
Just wanted, like Councillor Barb said, to pass on our condolences to Leo's family, and also the children that he drove on the school bus. Will definitely be missing him whenever they do get to come back to school, and Leo won't be there to entertain them. Whenever I worked with the school board, Leo drove to the with the Three Oaks family, and you always knew when he was in the office. If you didn't see his bright pink hat, then you definitely heard him. So he'll definitely be missed by the kids and all the staff in the education system.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Anything further at this time, Councillor Ramsey?
I do. I have police now, if there's no more remarks on fire. Okay, so I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of Mayor Stewart and City Council to congratulate Deputy Chief Sinclair Walker for his 40 years of service with Summerside Police. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to Summerside and its residents. We appreciate you. So I wanted to make a note of that. And then here's my April report submitted by Chief Dave Poirier. So there were a number of meetings during the month with the province, health, and other police agencies and PEI. They were all conducted throughout teleconference. They had some staff work at home during the month and also made arrangements in the platoon system to ensure that they had uninfected platoon available to work in the event of a coronavirus outbreak. The staff had been responding to concerns from public health for self-isolation during the month of April. Training and service enhancements. The staff had taken online training for internet safety, community policing activities, and so there were none during the month of April due to the pandemic. And so the occurrences and statistics, the following is a list of some of the occurrences total for April 2020. Calls for service were 573. Traffic accidents were 11. Reported crimes of assault and threats were 10. Theft reports were 18. Highway traffic offenses were 17. Impaired driving offenses were 8. Break and enter reports, business and residential, were 7. And drug enforcement charges were 13. So it looks like our police services had a very busy month for the month of April. So if you have any questions on this, you could contact Dave Poirier or Chief Walker, or if there's anything I can help you with tonight, you can ask me.
Thank you. Anything further?
I do. I have one resolution.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it's resolution COS 19-054. It's moved by myself and seconded by Corey, I think, Councillor. Yeah, that's what I thought. And so it's whereas section 6.4 of the City of Summerside Dangerous, Hazardous, and Unsightly Premises Bylaw, CS-11 states, all property shall be kept clean and free of A, objects or conditions that may create fire, health, or accident hazards, and B, litter. Whereas complaints were received at Summerside Police Services in the past several months from neighbors and council members concerning the property of 405 Chestnut Avenue. And whereas, as per the above bylaw, a letter was issued to the occupant of the home on April 25th, 2020, advising the occupant to have the issue rectified within 7 days, and the police services have since been unsuccessful in having the property cleaned up. Be it resolved that the City of Summerside CAO allow an inspector to enter upon the property situated at 405 Chestnut Avenue, PID number 307371 in the City of Summerside, and have the property brought into compliance with the requirements of the City of Summerside's Dangerous, Hazardous, and Unsightly Premises Bylaw, CS-11. This cost is to be initially borne by the city and invoiced to the occupant. Are there any questions?
It's been moved by Councillor Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Snow. It's only just on the 1, 2, 3, in the fourth paragraph there, Councillor Ramsey. I'm not sure if I'm all excited about that wording there. Maybe it just like the police services have been unsuccessful. I think it might be better wording if their order that the owner didn't obey the police order. The way that's sort of worded, like if the police tried to do it and they couldn't do it, but maybe it's just the way it's worded. But the police did everything they could in order to try to get it cleaned up, I guess is what I'm saying. And the ownership didn't obey their regulations. So this is the reason this motion is moving forward tonight.
Yeah.
Councillor McFeely and then Councillor Snow.
Just a question. The last sentence, the cost is to initially be borne by the city and invoiced to the occupant. Is it not correct that should the occupant not pay, that there would be a lien against the property to recover our cost?
Yes, I believe. And I guess, Rob, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, that's correct. Can you hear me now? Everybody hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, that's what Councillor McFeely said is correct, that if the city does incur a cost or any costs in cleaning up this property and the owner does not pay, then we will proceed to place a lien on the property.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Philpott. I believe Councillor Snow had a question and then Councillor Adams.
It's more a comment, Your Worship. I think it's important to note, although it says on here, the occupant was given 7 days. This has been more than a year for sure of complaints and people coming forward with concerns about the property and looking at the property from their property, that sort of stuff. And it's not just a 7-day issue. It's been an ongoing issue for the neighborhood. So I think that's a very important statement that's sort of not in the resolution as it reads, but I understand why the resolution reads that way. So, yeah.
I think in the paragraph 3, it says something about the past several months, but I understand your point there.
Yeah, it's been years for sure.
I believe Councillor Adams, you're next.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, you know, there was comments like, why this person? This isn't the only person with unsightly properties, and this isn't the only property that's being dealt with by our police. There are other people that have been asked. Some have abided by it, some haven't. But you have to start somewhere. So this is where we're starting. And like Councillor Snow said, it's been since or before we were in council that this has been taking place. So yeah, so I really very much appreciate this and the work that the police have done already on it. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this, but yeah, out of the respect for his neighbors and her neighbors, I'm not even sure who it is. I think it's unfortunate, but this is the route we have to take. So.
Okay, just I do not see any other questions, so I'm just trying to look at the resolution. So is the diary date on here someplace, eh? We got it when that time is up to take the next step?
Yes, I believe the time is up. It has been up for a bit. Am I correct, CAO, Rob?
I mean, the resolution is now, and so I'm just wondering what the next step and when it is.
So now, Your Worship, thank you for that question. Now that once this resolution is passed tonight, the CAO will instruct staff to start taking whatever measures are necessary to clean up the property, and that will happen immediately over the next few days.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye. Wave. Contrary nay. Carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey and Councillor Snow.
Your Worship, if I may.
Go ahead, sure.
I can't sit here as a councillor and let this go ahead without bringing a motion forward that I think is long overdue. I'm.
You talking this motion or another one?
Another motion, Your Worship. For many years, the city of Summerside have been dealing with derelict properties within our city boundaries. And over the years, there's been many talks with the owners of these properties, many meetings with the owners of the properties, and nothing continues or it doesn't improve. Quite the opposite, it continues to worsen. It is a negative impact on our city that is undescribable. I really, truly believe that. So I move that we give the owners of the former Holland College building and the owners of the former Summer Street Bars building, as they would be known to our residents, 30 days notice that we would be heading on to their property to clean up their property to meet the standards of our city's unsightly bylaws. This might or could very well mean demolishing both properties. These are prime land, and I believe that we are well within our rights to go ahead and give this notice. They've had many, many years to find solutions to these issues, and nothing has happened. So
So, the word, trying to figure out the wording of the resolution here.
Yep.
There is motion that you're
The
moving.
motion. I think, Your Worship, it's very important that we give a set date and we move forward with possible demolition of the properties if nothing is done by the owners.
So do you have a seconder for your motion?
I second that.
Seconded by Councillor Duran and Councillor Greg Campbell. And I think everybody seconded. Now we have 2 seconders there. Anyway, go ahead again. Do you have something further, Councillor Snow?
No, I'm just asking my fellow councillors to get behind this. I think it's an important step for our city. We sat here tonight and we unanimously supported going on to a owner's property that you know, it is not taking care of their property and it is unsightly, but there's other properties within our city that we tend to just, and I don't want to say turn a blind eye, because I know since I've been elected, how hard we've worked to address this type of stuff, we as a council. So turning a blind eye is not the correct way to say it, but nothing is being done. And we need to take a very strong stance that this stuff cannot happen, and make sure that in the future, we do everything we can for any future properties that this doesn't happen again, because it's been many, many years.
Okay,
I'd like to support that. And the biggest reason is it wouldn't be right for me to vote for this last bill and knowing that it's probably lifestyle with some people. I know with the vacation school, it's certainly the hell isn't lifestyle. It's it's just neglect is what it is. Same with the old region. You know, some of the homes, it's a lifestyle to some people that they don't see the mess. And you know, it's hard to be tough on them and then let the other ones go.
thank you, Councillor Campbell. I believe Councillor Ramsey and then Councillor McDougall.
Carrie, do you want to go, Carrie?
That's right, you go first.
Okay, and I just want to say, you know, Corey, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I need to reiterate that this council has been working hard on trying to get. We've been working with that gentleman and trying to get, you know, something done, and so I don't want it to think, well, you know, just because we made a decision tonight on a property of a homeowner that we haven't been looking at. Because we have, and we're doing it, and I think you're right. It's time to move forward, and I couldn't agree with you more. But I really want to commend council for how we are trying to move forward on these issues. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. I believe then Councillor McDougall and then Councillor Adams, if I saw the hands going up.
Thank you, Your Worship. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't support doing something with Holland College, the old Holland College in downtown. But I'd like to say the motion is premature, but it's not really, because we've been dealing with it for a long time. But just recently we've been discussing these properties. We've asked our economic development director to make some contacts on both. We've asked the mayor to contact the owner of the old Holland College property to sit down. I kind of think it would be premature in this meeting to bring this motion. And I'm not saying that I'll not support it, but I will not support it tonight. I just think it's premature.
Thank you. Councillor Adams, I believe you're next. Councillor Deputy Mayor Coleman.
I'm not sure what arrangements have been made in regards to setting up a meeting, but I think that we definitely need to meet with the property owner of the APM building and make him, like, explain to him how many residents come to us. I mean, I'm as far removed from the building as anybody when it comes to geographic location, but for my residents, it's an unsightly property. And I think as a property owner, he needs to also be reminded that if he's going to do business in the city, you have to be respectful of your neighbors. And it doesn't matter the size or whether somebody's living in it. You can't buy up property in our city, whether it be APM, whether it be Summer Street bars, and just leave it derelict for it to become an unsightly issue. I think we're a very open council. I think we are willing to look at anything. So I look forward to working with them because I think there's a lot of potential for that area. It's a very active area. And I think that our residents deserve for that to be cleaned up. And I look forward to having a discussion with the owner for sure.
Okay, Councillor or Deputy Mayor McCollum.
Okay. I want to make sure my mic was off.
Yes.
Or on. I certainly agree with everything that is being said about derelict properties and a need to do something. But I do agree with Councillor McDougall that yes, they've been going on for a while, so it's not just a sudden thing. But I believe our director, Thasuska, has been speaking with the owners of the Summer Street Regent bar area. And I guess the way I'm looking at it is I'd like to hear his comments because I think we run a very fine line. We don't want to see the properties left the way they are because it's the same as residences. But I also feel that we walk a fine line and we don't want to offend people or have people not want to come to the city for fear of maybe being embarrassed publicly or whatever. So I think we really need to wait and hear that information first before we make a decision and move forward on it. But I certainly agree with what you're bringing forward, Councillor Corey.
Thank you. Who else had their hand up there? Councillor Snow and then Councillor Drawn.
I just want to state the facts. Both of these properties have been owned by the same people for many years. And for us to think that we haven't had several meetings with the property owners is ludicrous. We've met with them several times. They know the properties are in horrible shape. I don't see what another meeting is going to do. We're just pushing this down the road. That's how we got to 15 years on Hong College, 15 plus years. And everybody's not wanting to move ahead. I'm not everybody, but you know what I mean? Not wanting to take that next step. The current steps are not working. And I need to say again, we need to start taking a strong stance. The playing Mr. Nice Guy and meeting with them, that works to start things off. But after a while, you start looking like a fool. And I really think we as a city are looking like a fool when we allow people to come in, buy up properties, and then let them deteriorate to the point they're at right now. We cannot allow that to continue in our city. I strongly believe that, just like we can't allow residents' houses to deteriorate because the people of our city have a lot of pride. And when we allow this to happen, it takes away a lot of that pride. And it takes away from people coming in to want to build in our community, open up businesses in our community. They drive through the downtown, they see the old Summer Street bars, they see a raccoon in the window. They go up to Hong College and they see it fenced off with graffiti everywhere. We have really nice commercial properties up there with a huge commercial eyesore. It makes zero sense to me as a councillor to go one way with a property that I know has been a couple years, and yes, it's a residential property, and then want to meet with the other ones. If that's the case, we should have really had another 10, 20 meetings with the homeowner that we said we're going to go on his property. I just really hope that we give this a real good thought because the current way we've handled this has not worked to this point. That's all I have to say on it.
Okay, I believe Councillor Drawn and then Councillor McFeely. If I got the names correctly.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that the one thing that's preventing development in both of these locations is the state that they're in. So I think in moving in this direction tonight, it's bringing the next step closer to the developers. It's not if we put this through tonight, it wouldn't be putting a barricade up, it would be removing one. And it sends a message to other property owners, regardless of the size of their property or their building, that we're not going to stand for it. And I spoke with Councillor Snow very briefly on this and what we might be doing this evening, and I'm in full support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Drawn. Councillor McFeely and then Councillor McDougall.
Yeah, I'm, I guess, not sure the best course of action here. I don't necessarily disagree with the spirit of what you're proposing, Councillor. A little bit caught off guard with no notice of meeting or a notice of motion, and that this is here tonight without some notice of motion. We have activity going on with both of those parties from a staff perspective, and I guess I'm like the deputy mayor and Councillor McDougall. I'd probably like to hear the results of those latest discussions before voting on a motion like this. I'm not saying I wouldn't support the motion in the long term. I'm just don't believe I can support it tonight without having all the information and options that staff may be bringing back to us based on their deliberations and discussions with some of the owners. And I know the mayor has been trying to connect with one of the other ones. So I just like to have all that information and where things are at right now. I understand your sentiment that this has been going on for some time. I think Councillor McDougall used the words that maybe just a little bit premature. You know, it's been going on for 15 years. Another few weeks won't hurt to see where the current discussions are going. That's kind of where my mindset is tonight. So not sure I could support the motion tonight, could probably support it in the long term.
Thank you, Councillor McFeely. I believe Councillor McDougall had.
Yes, and I'll just be quick. One of the things that we really got to think about is this: we're not just cleaning up a backyard here. We're cleaning up asbestos buildings, and this is not going to be, you know, $10,000. It's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in these locations. So I think that although I agree with the spirit of the motion, I really want to have more discussion with staff on this. First of all, find out where we're getting the money to do this. Because I'm sure the developers would probably want us to tear them down rather than them pay for them. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Councillor Deputy Mayor McCollum.
And again, all I'm trying to point out too is that Councillor, I'm not against it or anything like that, but I think because personally, just as Councillor McFeely said, we didn't know that the motion was coming forward, so feel a bit unprepared for it. And I believe in our committee of the whole meeting tonight, there may very well be some information coming forth from those meetings. So that would give us an idea of if there's any movement on it before we went forward.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor McCollum. Did I see any other hands to speak?
I would like to just say one last thing, Your Worship. I didn't plan on it, but to say everybody's caught off guard, I think is definitely, I don't think that's correct. So I think everybody probably knew there was a strong possibility that something was coming forward. So to act like we don't know is I don't know. I don't like that. So and I know we have our economic development department meeting with or trying to meet with them and discussing it with them. But it's not new discussions, guys. This has been going on for years. So every time we want to have a discussion or move forward, if we wait for another discussion, it's never going to move forward. And I think that's where we find ourselves right now, waiting for a discussion that we've been waiting for many years. Discussion is just that, it's talk. And we've had a lack of action and we need action. So that's it. I just wanted to answer some of those not knowing or anything was coming. I think that's sort of little bit off.
Councillor Ramsey, I believe you had your hand up.
Okay. I guess what I want to say is that we do in committee of the whole have Mike coming in to talk with us about some things. And I'm wondering, Corey, if we could just, even if we hold off to listen to the conversation tonight to see where that goes. I agree with you. Like, I agree, and I think everybody does. We're all tired of it. You know, we'd like to see them down, and we'd like to see some nice new buildings go up, and the eyesores are, you know, it's been a lot. But I guess in being a reasonable, you know, trying to be a reasonable person, saying, okay, we've got a conversation coming this evening. Can we kind of maybe wait and do that, and then talk at our next meeting, which is not very far away, Corey. Like Brian said, it's, you know, we're looking at maybe a week or two, but we know we're serious. Like, we're not, the joke is over, and council is serious, and we want some movement. So would you be willing to, you know, look at that, Corey? Councillor Snow?
I believe Councillor McFeely wanted to get in there.
No, I'm fine. I was going to rebuttal to Councillor Snow comment that the lack of notice of motion, but that's fine.
Okay, I guess, is there anybody prepared? It sounds like there's some people want to have another week or two. Is anybody prepared to table it until this meeting is over tonight, later? Or I guess these phone meetings and Zoom meetings is it's kind of hard to get a reading here, but
I would move
your hand up, Bruce.
I would move to table the motion until our next monthly meeting.
And I'll second it.
So there's one thing about the tabling motions moved by Councillor McDougall and seconded by Deputy Mayor McCollum, that this motion be tabled for 1 month. I like the idea of a diary date, the next monthly meeting. Any questions? All in favor, say aye to table.
Well, can I ask a question about the tabling part then? Because that's something that we don't do very often. So I'm
right,
not.
Yeah, and there's usually the proper procedure on a tabling motion. There's usually no discussion. But if you had a quick question,
I just have a question around what because I don't know much about tabling and it's exactly what I had mentioned. No, but does it have to go to the next council meeting, or can it go to our committee meeting? I guess that would be my question.
it's up to the person that moved the tabling motion.
Okay.
The motion itself to come back on the floor at our next monthly meeting will come back on the floor at our next monthly meeting. There can be all kinds of discussions in between, but the actual motion comes back on the floor next monthly meeting.
Okay, so we can have discussions in between, and I'm sorry that I just didn't know.
No, that's quite all right, Councillor Ramsey. So
can I just point something out, Your Worship?
Go ahead, Councillor or Deputy Mayor McCollum.
Just for the benefit of all of council, deferring it in this manner, what Councillor Bruce is doing, it's in the Roberts Rule Book of Orders, like whenever we're trying to do business. And I think that's also what Councillor McFeely was speaking to, and myself. Like, there is an order to doing such things, and we're just deferring it until we get all of the information so that we can make that decision on the vote, and we know that we've done everything possible with this final bit of information coming forward.
And I like the idea of Bruce's motion as far as a diary date, and to follow up on what Councillor Snow had said. Over the years, that was some of the problem. There was no diary date put on it. It was, we'll have another discussion. This way it's narrowed down to have a diary date. When you have a diary date on something, that's when the line is drawn to do something or not to do it. So there is a motion on the floor by Councillor McDougall, and seconded by Councillor McCollum, that this motion be tabled until the next monthly council meeting, which is what date in June? When's the third Monday in June? Who got the calendar in front of them? We want to make sure that there's a date, you know, if the motion passes, we want to make sure of a date.
15th.
15th of June.
Yeah.
2020. Okay, all in favor of tabling this for until the June meeting, raise your hand so I can see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor, and country nay. 1, 2. I'm missing one here, I think.
No, there was 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Somebody had their hand up just a little below the screen. Okay, the motion is carried to be held next month in June. Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Snow, for your comments, and all councillors. But like I said, it's tied into a date now, so, and I think the message will get out to these people that the time is just about over for them. Anyway, trying to remember where we are on the agenda here.
So police services is finished as of that. That was the end of our conversation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ramsey. And we'll move on to Councillor Adams. You have Human Resources, Legal Affairs, Culture Summerside Policy, and Bylaw Review Committee.
I think actually Councillor Snow is next with Community Services.
Sorry, that's what happens, Tori, when you wear trifocals. Sorry about that. Anyway, there was one thing, Councillor Ramsey, I was going to mention that you had passed on condolences to Leo Stewart, and we certainly did as well. But we had the wife of former longtime firefighter, Mrs. Hayes, pass away, and we passed on condolences to the Hayes family. Her husband, Earl, was a longtime firefighter. And also we pass on condolences to the mother of Tony Gallant. It works in tech services, one of our engineers, and his wife's mother passed away. So we pass on condolences to Tony Gallant and his family. So we get back on to Councillor Snow. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to just start by thanking JP DeRoger, who is actually with us here tonight for compiling the report for Community Services Department. With the ongoing pandemic surrounding COVID-19, April was like none other for Community Services Department. Credit Union Place remains temporarily closed as the city continues to follow the guidelines and restrictions put forth by the Chief Public Health Office. Several concerts and events have been rescheduled to a later date, including Jan Arden, Clint Black, the Harlem Globetrotters. Staff have been working hard to accommodate ticket holders for these shows, along with helping them determine the details surrounding the rescheduled dates. Although Credit Union Place remains temporarily closed, the Fit Stop continues to offer a variety of free online fitness classes. Each class is led by an instructor and are being offered 7 days a week, various times throughout the day. Additionally, the department is offering online activity challenges multiple times weekly to bring some creative fun into people's homes during this time of social distancing. The Parks and Green Spaces Division, along with the maintenance staff from Credit Union Place, have been busy cleaning up and maintaining a long list of parks throughout the city, preparing them for warmer weather ahead. As the Community Service Department facilitates and operations remain in phase 1 of the renewed PEI COVID-19 plan, an online facility status tracker has been created to inform the public on what is currently open or closed, along with any additional details or guidelines for each. This online status tracker will continue to be updated in accordance with the renewed PEI plan. Although we continue to navigate through these unprecedented times, staff continue to work and plan for the days ahead to ensure the facilities and operations are prepared for reopenings and guidelines that will follow. That's the end of the report, but I think it's pretty noticeable when you look out and you see the shape of our parks, although there's not kids in them, and other places around our city, how hard our green spaces crews have been working, which is great. One note, I know I have been contacted by people that use the Summerside Bark Park a lot, and they reached out to me asking for, some attention be put into the Bark Park, and JP and his staff have been out there and doing lots of work on the fences and around the yard there, and that's well received by them, so it's great to see. And just in closing, I really want to thank JP and all his staff, because this is really crazy times for the Community Services Department. We're usually busy with all the closing up of hockey and playoffs and ball starting up, and it's usually a busy time, but not like this. It's unprecedented for sure. That's my report, Your Worship. I do have a resolution if there's no questions.
Any questions for the Chair of Community Services? I do not see any hands up. Councillor Snow, the floor is still yours.
All right, I have resolution COS 20-056, May 19th, 2020, moved by myself, Corey Snow, and seconded by Councillor Kerry Adams. Whereas a tender was issued for pool retiling at Credit Union Place, and one response was received from Tile Masters Inc. And whereas staff closely reviewed the tender response from Tile Master Inc. and note that the tender amount is twice the budget allocation, staff recommend proceeding with this project based on the following items. Community Services will source the additional required funding for this project from existing capital budget allocations by deferring the low voltage lighting project. Budget was $200,000 until 2021, and will instate additional safety protocols for the remainder of the 2020 budget year. Based on the information gleaned from the tender process, the project will require 86 construction days for completion. Considering the restrictions from COVID-19 protocols, our pool facility would operate on a very limited operational model during the next 4 months, making this a much more suitable and less impactful period to complete this work. Summer months are already a challenge for pool usage outside of summer camps, which may also be uncertain this summer. Based on the following, up with the contractor phasing, the project year over year will be a challenge considering both the timelines and also the ability to seal the entire pool facility effectively when attempting to link old tile and new. Be it resolved, the pool retiling tender be awarded to Tile Masters Inc. at the cost of $131,000.
400,000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 131.
131.
And no cents.
No cents.
Moved by Councillor Snow, and who's your seconder? Sorry.
Councillor Adams.
Adams. Any questions on the motion?
I do. I do.
All right. Oh, Councillor Ramsay.
I do. Yeah. Oh, am I? Yeah. So we had a budget of $200,000. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And but did we assume back when we were talking about this last year that it was going to be $200,000?
That would have been best guess estimates, not knowing. We haven't retiled the pool. It's a large area, so it was a estimate at that point. I would guess if JP, who's here, he can answer anything that he feels I'm not answering correctly. But at that point, yes, it was a best guess estimate. Not knowing time frames to do the work, that sort of stuff.
So there was no actual estimate on that. It was just a guesstimate.
No, it would be like anything else we budget for. We put in a budgeted amount, and then from there the actual tender might come in over, whether or not it's paving or sidewalks, and then from there we'd have to make a decision. It's common that we would be off. I mean.
Corey, was it tendered?
Yeah, with one reply.
Just one reply.
And okay, so are you thinking of doing? You don't want to do half and half. You want to do it all at the same time because of the concerns with.
So based on the resolution, matching the old and new up can be challenging at best. And finding a 2-month window, that we are going to close the pool down after a pandemic is going to be harder. We're currently shut down. The timing works. Everything seems to work really well given the current circumstance we are in. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor McDougall.
I thought this was put on hold. Or am I missing something? The tiling?
JP, I think, is with us. Are you with us, JP? You're on mute.
No, Rob.
Mayor, maybe what I could do is just to start off. Initially, we did put this. Thank you, Councillor McDougall, for your question. Initially, when the COVID restrictions were rolling out and were announced by the province, where we had started to proceed to either curtail or close a lot of city programs and services, we had made a decision at the time to put it on hold until such time as we knew what we were really dealing with in terms of restrictions and potential timelines for how long the COVID restrictions are going to be in place.
Right.
As time went on, it became clear to us that any COVID closures that we had here in the city, including Credit Union Place, were probably going to be for a significant period of time. And with that in mind, and with discussions through our Community Services Committee with Councillor Snow as chair of the committee, we decided to advertise an RFP in the hopes that we might be able to get some interest and some responses back to do the work, knowing full well that whatever recommendations we made to council on a successful or recommended vendor would have to be considered in the context of any recommendations from the Chief Public Health Officer at the time. And as Councillor Snow has just mentioned earlier, insofar as the pool is concerned, given that it is in a period of closure, it was probably an ideal, I wouldn't say an ideal time. There's no such thing as ideal when it comes to COVID, but this is probably as an appropriate a time to be able to try to effect these renovations, knowing full well that we were going to be seeing revenue impacts anyway. To close the pool down at another time probably would have a lot more significant operational impact than would otherwise be the case.
Okay, so I understand that the money is in the budget, even though this is over 200,000.
So there's 200,000, Bruce, that's in the budget that we put in there for the tile. We're deferring a lighting program or lighting repairs that were recommended, was looking to get done, but we're deferring that to next budget year, knowing we might not need it as much, and we're putting in safety protocols so that the issues we are having with our lighting, we can continue and not have any concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor McFeely, the floor is yours.
Just one quick question. So Tile Master Inc., I want to be sure it's not the same company that did the original install, because there's been issues with the tile since day one, if I understand correctly.
That's not, that's before my time, so JP's going to have to answer that. I mean,
it is not the same company that did the existing tile work in the aquatics facility. However, Tile Master did do other tile work around the building on phase 2, which is the arenas and the showers in the arenas in those areas. They are a large commercial tile vendor based here on PEI.
But they didn't do the tank.
They didn't do the tank or the deck or anything related to the phase 1 or the aquatics facility at the Cup.
Okay, that gives me a comfort level. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on the motion?
So no, I just one question if I can.
Councillor Ramsey.
I'm sorry, just so if we take the 200,000 that was budgeted for the lights, so we're going to have to put 200,000 in next year to do the lights, right?
To do the lights, but we're not over budget for this year. We're moving that project down the road for next budget year for the lighting. So we're within our community services department. We found the money within there.
Right. Okay.
Unless
Okay.
council wants to find another 200 somewhere. Just
No, I was just trying to figure out how it was working. That's all. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. Any further questions? If not, you ready for the vote? All in favor, say aye. Or wave a hand. Contrary, nay. Motion carried 7-1. If I saw correctly, Councillor McFeely voted against, and I believe the others.
Did you vote
7-4.
against, Brian?
Sorry. Yes, 7-1 vote.
I voted in favor of the motion, Your Worship.
Oh, sorry, I thought Got your hand come up when
Late
I
wave,
said-
late wave.
But it's my age. I can't react that quick.
So unanimously then. Okay, thank you very much. Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, where are we here on the agenda? I better check my. Okay, do you have anything further, Councillor Snow?
No, I'm all good. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Adams, back to Human Resources, Legal Affairs, Culture, Summerside, Policy, and Bylaw Review Committee.
Perfect.
The
I
floor is yours.
have a few things. I won't be as long as Councillor Ryan, but we'll get through them. First off, we'll start with the Human Resource and Legal Affairs. And thank you to Director for putting this together. I wanted to, before I forget, I also wanted to say that usually coming up, we'd have a staff appreciation barbecue and so on for our staff, but due to everything that's going on, it's just another thing that we're going to have to put off for a little while, and we'll try that in the fall. So we'll have a late fall barbecue for them. Not that they aren't appreciated all the time, and especially right now because their work lives have been turned upside down, but we are thinking of them for sure. HR staff continue to support departments this month while working predominantly from home. Staff have adapted well to continue to provide HR service while staying safe. This is typically a very busy time of year for hiring seasonal staff and students who work the summer. This year has been very similar, welcoming our engineering students to technical services and Summerside Electric Utility. The City of Summerside provides an employee assistance program, EAP, to our staff to help staff get support dealing with any number of challenges in their lives. During these COVID-19 times, we have been reminding staff often of these options. We recognize that the frontline essential staff have been facing additional stresses as they continue to provide services while dealing with all the regular pandemic challenges at home of caring for other family members, young and old, and some have the task of homeschooling. Our staff have risen to the challenge over these last number of weeks, and we want to thank them for all their contributions and efforts, and we'll get together with them as soon as it allows for our usual barbecue. And that's all I have for that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any questions so far for the chair? If not, continue on. Don't forget to give us the date of the barbecue, eh?
I'll make sure.
Is that for council too, or for just staff?
I think council, well, I was there last year. I think we all went. It was over at Lafergie. It was great. It was a beautiful day. So next we'll go with Culture Summerside, and thank you to Lori Ellis for putting this together. The following report captures some of the highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from mid-April to mid-May time period. And it's also there to be recognized because usually they'd be getting in the programming mode and they'd be preparing for our lobster carnival. And unfortunately that they've had to definitely reroute all their activities. So Culture Summerside staff are slowly returning to the regular office spaces and are making required adjustments regarding COVID-19 restrictions on several fronts with Culture Summerside. Website development is still underway. Revised program plans are underway, hoping to salvage as much summer programming as possible, which is always popular for all age groups. And it's hoped now that if we're going to do more staycations, that they'll be able to come to Summerside and see what we have to offer. Research and writing on the built heritage of Summerside is ongoing. Staff are working research and development of upcoming exhibitions. Staff are working with granting agencies to revise approved program proposals to align with COVID-19 restrictions. So some summer jobs that might have been approved by government and granting agencies because of their certain criteria. Now we just have to go back to make sure that that's still all a go. The digitalization of irreplaceable historical footage and interviews is ongoing. Staff are preparing to interview for summer student positions. Culture Summerside staff are currently working on the revised Summerside Lobster Carnival event, a seafood taste of PEI kitchen party. And again, it's unfortunate that we had to cancel the Lobster Carnival as it was, and now we're doing a new take on it. But I think that's the same as everything right now. Everything, it's the new norm. So it's going to be Summerside Lobster Carnival, a seafood taste of PEI kitchen party. So when that's finalized, we'll need everybody's help to spread the word to relatives near and far. Manager of Heritage and Cultural Properties, Lori Ellis, CAO Rob Philpott, and myself and Councillor Snow. We met with Mrs. Barb Gallant of the Lest We Forget Committee to discuss military exhibition opportunities and collections that are within the city. A plan was devised to meet again with the larger Lest We Forget Committee about upcoming opportunities and working forward together. I think it was really nice to get in the same room, distant, but 4 or 5 of us were in the council chambers, and just some questions that we had and things that we were wondering about. And Barb was very knowledgeable in most of, there wasn't anything that we asked that she couldn't answer. So, and she is under a lot of pressure too, because then she is bringing these ideas back and questions back and forth. So we really appreciate her efforts and the efforts of the whole committee. One thing that Councillor Snow and I were happy about is we were sort of fearful that we wanted to make sure the whole, all different sections, like military and everybody was covered. And she said, yes, there's RCMP, former RCMP, there's military, and everybody is very well connected through it. So that was very, very happy to hear that nobody will be forgotten during that. And we're just working on like getting some space and going from there. So we're really looking forward to meeting with them when the time comes. We also wanted to just mention that the Armory restoration is going to be starting. And our manager, Lori, just wanted to let everybody know. So also this was residents in the area. So Mayor Norma, our Deputy Mayor Norma, some of your residents might be wondering. The plan is to position a dumpster on the side of the Armory that faces the police department side. So it will be close to the building, so debris can be thrown out of the second floor window. So it'll be on the police side, not the city hall side. The dumpster will be placed sometimes in the next couple days, and the demolition that's required will start on Monday of next week. So if anybody's asking, that's what's going on.
Did you say demolition or renovations?
Both.
Okay.
Demo to reno. Anybody have any questions?
When will that work? You said next week?
Yeah, it's gonna start Monday coming up.
Monday. I see some hands up there. Deputy Mayor McColeman, and go ahead.
Yeah, I just wondered, Councillor Carey, if there might be something as far as a release or something on Facebook that people would be aware of through the department.
I think that's something we could do. CAO Rob, we could probably, he's on it. Thumbs up.
Any other hands up there, Bruce? No, you're just waving at us there. I do not see any other hands up. Councillor Adams, you still have the floor. Where are you in your agenda?
I'm on Bylaw Policy Review Committee. Okay, so we'll go through this one quickly. Despite the restrictions brought on by COVID-19, it seems to be the tagline on everything these days. The business of the municipality continues in many key areas. One aspect of the committee's work has been focused on the taxi bylaw. The committee has discussed proposed amendments to the bylaw, and the next step will be to meet with industry representatives to seek their input on these proposed changes. This will take place once restrictions about meeting are lifted, and a recommendation on the proposed changes after that discussion will be then brought to council. So it's important for everybody to know that we didn't want to meet in smaller groups. We wanted to meet everybody together. And we felt that we didn't have a working relationship with the group yet. So we felt that it was better to get all the stakeholders personally in the same room with us. So, and things seem to be moving along in the phases. So hopefully we'll get to do that sooner rather than later. So ongoing policy work, the committee is continuing to assess areas within city policies and operations that merit further review. This will involve a combination of priorities for review identified by our council, as well as staff suggestions on areas for follow-up. We will keep council apprised as we get progress on that. One such area we turn our attention to in the weeks ahead is the topic of short-term property rentals and how this is impacting the availability of housing in general, which again, due to COVID, might look a little different this summer. Municipalities across the country are challenged with this issue and how best to appropriately balance the need to promote a healthy business and corporate culture with the need to maintain an adequate supply of housing options for residents. And we will research this issue in the weeks ahead and bring ideas back to council for consideration. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I'm just wondering, I know there's some work being done on a study or some work in regards to transit within the city. I'm just wondering, are we keeping the taxi firms or industry in mind as we do that study? Or is the study all about buses?
That I believe is all about buses. Like right now we just have, it's the RFQ out for somebody that would do the study. We haven't even, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even approached it yet. We're just right now the RFQ is out for somebody that would be interested in doing the study and then get pricing on it and then go from there to see as a council.
The reason I asked that, Councillor Adams, because, the reason I asked that because I know there's some work about to be done in regards to the taxi bylaw and regulations. And I'm just wondering if when we're doing the report on the city transit system, whether that's just strictly buses or should we keep that in mind that the taxi firms may have some suggestions and or ideas as we move forward.
We can definitely keep anything in mind. See, Rob, did you have anything to say on what?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mayor, for your suggestion. The RFP that is out right now, it's basically asking interested consultants to look at what is an appropriate type of transit service, whether it's a fixed route or on demand or any other type of system for a community of 15,000 people. And we know that there are a lot of qualified consultants across the country who have done these types of reviews before. And we felt that the time was good to have an objective third set of eyes come in and take a look at what we currently have in place and maybe to offer some suggestions as to whether what we have in place right now is an appropriate fit or are there other changes or modifications that we could consider.
I'm just wondering though, when you say across the country, I hope we wouldn't have to go to British Columbia to get somebody to do this work, number one. I'm not saying that we are, but I'm wondering, did you say anything? Is this strictly about bus transportation? Or I know it's early in the game, but if we're going to be doing some work, we should keep the taxi industry in mind here as we work on this.
Yep. And again, I guess what is the appropriate mix of transportation options for a community of this size is probably a better way to put it.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did I see a hand up here, Barb? Or Councillor Ramsey? Councillor Snow.
Just to Carrie's comments there about Airbnb, I was reading where Charlottetown this year, a lot of the current Airbnb owners are starting to rent their units out for the summer, knowing or having a feel that we're probably not going to have the tourism that we normally have. So they're putting a lot of theirs back into the market. So I think this summer will give a real good idea of the effect Airbnb has on their market, and then in turn we can sort of steal some of their information they're getting to see the numbers we have in our city and how that might be affecting ours too, because it's sort of going to be a test run of having those Airbnb units back on the market given the pandemic. So
Thank you, Councillor Snow. Any other questions for Councillor Adams? I do not see any hands raised. So anything further at this time, Councillor Adams?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So we'll continue on with the agenda. I believe we're going to Councillor McDougall for municipal services. How are you getting along with the street sweeper?
Good, great.
Would you send it back yet?
Not yet. It's in the box. I have a report here by our director, Greg Goody, Municipal Services. And before I start that, I just want to send a shout out to the staff of Municipal Services for the great work they've done through this COVID-19 pandemic. And they're an essential service, so they kept us going. So we thank them for that. The report, the Compton Road has been repaired this month for potholes and graded. Street sweeping has started this month with many difficulties in keeping the dust down while cleaning the curbs. And I'm sure that
dust up.
One of us have seen the dust bunny going. So the manufacturer will be installing an enhanced wetting process to the machine to reduce the dust. It is out of service until the modifications are completed and tested. The right-of-way lawn repairs was completed this month, and if there's any outstanding issues, please call 902-432-1268. And traffic line painting has begun for the season. The concentrated start is always with the crosswalks, and then into lane markings, and then arrows, and finally parking lots spaces. The public is reminded that the city is undergoing a discussion for crosswalk enhancements for those crosswalks that are felt can use some extra visuals for safety. And please submit your ideas to 432-1268. The water utility continues repairs to curb stops damaged over the winter, along with the water break excavation, topsoil and seeding from the winter work. 2 production wells are going back into production this month, the Heritage Park well and Briggs Street, which have been out for repairs. 2 water services were repaired this month, Tim Hortons on Water Street and the Travelers Inn. Driveway culvert repair list is being generated for work to start in late May. And the sidewalk inspections are underway for the repair list to be completed by mid-July. And boardwalk repairs have started this week and is expected to take 6 to 8 weeks to complete. And biosolids fertilizer from the treatment plant has been delivered to farmers for application as fertilizer this month. And just another note on this report, we received a permit from the province to bury the debris from the Dorian storm that we had. So that will be happening sooner than later. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on that.
You're going to bury it where it is, eh?
Yes, I believe we're just doing half right now, and the other half will be done at a later time. Is that what I understand, Rob? I think they're just doing half now, right?
That's correct, Councillor McDougall. They're doing just half now. I guess it's more of a scheduling thing with the contractor that we've got lined up. But yeah, and you're correct. We did receive permission from the province to be able to proceed with this work, and we didn't think it was going to be an issue, but we still had to go through the process to acquire that approval.
Okay, thank you.
Did I miss something? Because that's the first I've heard of this. Or it's just starting to come.
We just received word today or yesterday. Right?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. It was circulated around the councillor. I saw it anyway. We have a couple of hands up here. Councillor Adams?
I just have one quick question, just so for the public that it's clear. When you say debris, you mean trees,
right,
and natural debris, not, yeah.
Right. Oh, no fridges or Chesterfields.
Just to continue on with the report, the water and sewer utilities, the 32 water samples were taken, all clear of bacteria. Chemistry water testing was conducted and the results will be given out next month. 12 chlorination samples taken and they're all within parameters. 18 water turn on and turn offs for the month. 4 sewer calls out this month, and sewer effluent to the harbor, all within regulated parameters. And over 70,000 gallons of septic received to the plant from outlying areas. That's all I have for the report, Your Worship, and I just have a couple of comments.
Any questions for the Chair of Municipal Services? I do not see any hands up, so the floor is still yours, Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to note that as president of the Federation of Municipalities and a board member of the FCM, we've been working, I think I've got about 3 meetings a week for the last month, but we're working with the federal and provincial governments to try and get some funding for the municipalities due to the COVID-19 epidemic. As you know, municipalities only have one source of revenue, and that's from the taxation. And when we don't have our credit union places and all those things, there's our opportunities for revenue is cut back substantially. And unlike federal and provincial governments, we cannot budget for a deficit. So we're working with the federal and provincial governments to hopefully have a package for municipalities in the near future.
Councillor McDougall, while we're on that, just for the new councillors, I'm not sure if they know, and you made a good point there, municipalities, provincial government and federal government, the difference in taxation of every dollar that's collected, the municipalities get what, 4 or 6 or 8%, and the province another percentage, and the federal another percentage. Do you have those ballpark numbers?
I don't.
Okay. I don't. Yeah, but it's a real drop in the bucket compared to the provincial and the federal governments that municipalities get on taxations that are collected.
Yes. The other thing that I had is I do want to send out condolences to the family of Leo Stewart. Leo was a great friend and a longtime firefighter in the city, and he was also a Lions member. And so if anybody wants to laugh someday, just ask me a story about the sea monkeys. But,
yeah, I heard that one.
He really pulled my leg that day, and it's worth a set down. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
He was a character, all right, and we used to call one another cuz.
Yeah,
we miss him. Any further questions for the Chair of Municipal Services? Do you have anything further, Bruce or Councillor McDougall?
That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll continue on to the biggest budget in the city. Councillor Campbell, the floor is yours, sir, for electrical report. I believe you're muted.
Thank you, Your Worship.
There you
go. Okay now?
Okay, go ahead.
To not anyone's surprise, a large red heart was constructed on top of the power plant smokestack. The famous red heart. I tried to tell Wendy I put it up there just for her, but she wouldn't believe me. The snowflakes downtown were removed along with street lighting. A new system is going to be installed late summer, fall season. Radar speed sign is being relocated to Water Street East. I'm wondering, I didn't notice any traffic counters or anything around there. I think when we do things like that and remove them, sometimes it's quite surprising which way the traffic is. I know if it doesn't slow them down much out there, it would certainly look nice in Councillor McFeely's district there with 3 Oaks on McEwen Road. There's a lot of traffic there, and maybe even up to Athena after that. Anyway, several boardwalk lighting repairs were conducted for Councillor McDougall and I guess your worship's doing a lot of walking down there. New
Yes,
backup,
keeping the weight down, eh?
attaboy.
Gotta keep in shape, be fighting shape.
The new backup generator tender for the Pope Road Water Tower was issued this month. Renovation at 94 Ottawa Street is scheduled to be complete by the end of the month. It will reopen to the public on June the 15th. Electrical servicing for Putter Lane subdivision is done and it's ready for connection to houses. The following developments are progressing to completion. That's 32 units on Nancy Beth Guptill Street. I think the opening date was February, now it's put off until the following November. So there's some problems there. 72 units on Water Street, temporaries for construction off Pope Road for the 26 units that's going in there. 43.2% of our electricity came from wind in February. 4.6 generator run hours. 4 new electric customers energized this month. 2 electrical service upgrades. 6 customer outage events this month. And 4 heat for less appliances have been sold for a total in the city of 427. And that's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Any questions for the Chair of Electrical? Your windmills are working great, eh, Greg? Or Councillor
Oh,
Campbell?
we did have a problem with one of the windmills and I haven't, you don't have a chance to bump into people, but I hoping if I ran into Greg, I'd ask him. I don't know what the problem was. It was something to do with the gearbox or something, I believe. I think it's all right now, the way, Rob.
Thank you. Okay, any hands up for any final comments? We've gotten to the end of the agenda. I see there's a couple of items there for the Municipal Act for Committee of the Whole. If there are no further questions or final comments, is there somebody prepared to move a motion that the meeting adjourn? Moved by Councillor Adams and seconded by Councillor McFeely. All in favor? Country nay. Good night, everyone. Thank you. And we'll move in the Committee of the Whole for a couple items. Okay, thank you. Let's take a 5-minute break.